Imagine declaring war on a bird, then losing twice. Welcome to Western Australia, 1932, where the government sent soldiers with Lewis machine guns to stop a crop-crushing emu migration, and discovered that Mother Nature has a better sense of humor than any parliament. This is the Great Emu War, the story of how fast birds, rough country, and bad logistics outmaneuvered good intentions and automatic weapons. After World War I, thousands of Australian veterans were settled on marginal farmland. It wasn't exactly prime real estate. Think scrubby soils and long distances, not rolling European meadows. Then, the Great Depression arrived and pushed wheat prices off a cliff. The government promised support that didn't land quickly. Farmers threatened to hold their harvests. And into this pressure cooker waltzed an unexpected guest: emus. After breeding inland, emus habitually wander toward the coast. And in 1932, tens of thousands found a buffet line of fresh water and wheat in the Campion district. To an emu, a wheat farm is basically a salad bar with no staff on duty. Farmers watched months of effort get chewed up and trampled by giant, 2-meter birds with the attitude of a bouncer and the diet of a lawnmower. They petitioned the Minister for Defense, Sir George Pearce. Their logic was simple. We just fought a world war with machine guns. Surely we can handle birds. The minister agreed, with a few strings attached. Army personnel would operate the guns. The Western Australian government would handle transport, and farmers would feed and house the soldiers. Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith from the Royal Australian Artillery. 2 Lewis guns, ammunition, and a belief that military discipline could outflank a wildlife problem. Phase 1 sounded straightforward on paper. You find a flock, you herd them toward a line of fire, and you let the guns do the persuading. Reality had other plans. Emus aren't herd animals that panic in one direction. They break into small groups, they run in zigzags, and they run fast, shockingly fast. Add rutted paddocks, bouncing trucks, and the dust and rain of a Western Australian spring, and the Lewis guns started behaving like grumpy antiques. Belts jammed, stands shook. In one notorious ambush, the triumphant tally was 12 birds. 12. If you're keeping score at home, that's not a victory lap. That's a participation ribbon. Meanwhile, emus showed off evolutionary party tricks. Their feathers deflect glancing blows. Their long legs cover ground in a blur. And when they scatter, they become a dozen, then 50, then 100 unpredictable targets. The soldiers tried mounting a gun on a truck to chase the birds across the paddocks. The truck bucked like a rodeo bull, the gunner couldn't aim, and the emus basically watched the circus roll by. The operation paused, because no one wants a military campaign where the best photo is a muddy gun jammed next to a smug bird. Phase 2 began in mid-November. The weather eased, the team adjusted, and the numbers improved. By December 10th, Major Meredith reported 986 confirmed kills, using about 9,860 rounds, with claims that many more wounded later died. That is roughly 10 rounds per confirmed emu. If this were a video game, you'd be getting roasted in the chat. But it was progress compared to the slapstick of Phase 1. So, what finally worked? Not firepower, policy. The government leaned back into bounty payments, and in the first half of 1934 alone, more than 57,000 bounties were claimed. Pair that with exclusion fencing, which was already expanding to slow rabbits and dingoes, and you get 2 crucial tools: incentives that mobilized lots of local shooters across wide areas, and physical barriers that kept emus from treating the weak belt like an after-party. None of that made for a spicy headline, but it actually reduced damage. Let's talk lessons. Because the Emu War is funny, yes, but it's also instructive. First, complex problems hate simple solutions, especially when the simple solution looks cool in a photograph. Culling a fast, dispersed wildlife population with a handful of guns is performance, not policy. Second, logistics will always eat tactics for breakfast. You can have the right weapon in the wrong terrain, and you are still wrong. Third, if your solution can't scale to the size of the problem, it's theater. Emus did not sign surrender papers because 2 Lewis guns showed up. They didn't even RSVP. It moves. One district gets raided this year, another next year, and your shiny solution has to flex with the pattern. A centralized team with 2 guns can't be everywhere, but a bounty network can, and a fence stays put whether you're eating lunch or attending a council meeting. That's systems thinking, hiding underneath a ridiculous nickname. There's also a subtle media lesson. The Emu War became a meme before memes existed because it compresses beautifully. Australia fought birds and lost. The joke writes itself. But the humor can obscure the real stakes. Farmers were trying to keep food on the table during a global economic crisis. The government was trying to be seen helping when money and trust were both thin. The army was trying to provide practical assistance and, supposedly, get some target practice out of it. Everyone acted rationally inside their lane. The lanes just didn't intersect where it mattered, on outcomes. So, what do we take away? If you're tackling a messy problem, pests, traffic, take your pick, ask 4 questions. 1. Does the fix scale as big as the problem? 2. Will it still work when the weather, the terrain, or the incentives change? 3. Is there a low-glamour alternative that quietly solves the root cause? 4. And this one's crucial. Is the headline better than the result? If yes, be careful. You might be staging an Emu War of your own. Let's address a couple myths. No, the army didn't suffer casualties beyond egos, reputations, and a few belts of ammunition. No, emus did not form organized revenge squads, however hilarious that mental image is. And no, the solution wasn't use bigger guns. The bottleneck was never firepower. It was finding, funneling, and finishing targets across huge, rough country, while the birds did whatever evolution trained them to do. Run far, run fast, and not in a straight line. If you laughed or learned, hit subscribe. And tell us what historical mess we should clean up next.